My name is Alex. I'm CTO for a seed-funded startup called Signapse. You've probably never heard of us, but you'll see our stuff all around the UK. Primarily at train stations. Those booths that you see with sign language going on, that's us. And on media and entertainment industries, in airports around, you will have seen us kind of hidden away. And what we do is we offer AI-enabled sign language. So this is Ray. Ray is entirely synthetic. Well, no, she's based off our head of translation, Rachel, but she's entirely generated through AI in AWS. So she's speaking British Sign Language. So just a quick bit about ourselves. Who are we? We are a team of deaf and hearing individuals. We try and aim to be 50% deaf as a company because the deaf community in the UK is very passionate about the language. The British Sign Language has only recently become an indigenous language in the UK. The deaf community has fought really hard to get that, and it's something that, as hearing people, we often take for granted that sign language has always been a thing, and it's always been there, but no, it hasn't. It's very new as kind of being accepted within the UK. So we want to keep that deaf community really close to us. While I'm here, just a quick show of hands. Who knows somebody who's deaf, or who works with somebody who's deaf? A decent amount, that's good. So we formed a couple of years ago. We spun out of the University of Surrey with the sheer purpose of basically taking AI and generative adversarial models, GAN models, and using that to make the world slightly more accessible and a slightly better place for everybody. So I'm a big numbers guy. Just some fun facts. There are 70 million deaf people globally, many of whom struggle to read written language. The average reading age for somebody who is deaf in the UK is 8 years old. So one thing we always get told, Paul here will know because I ranted his ear off about it in Amsterdam last year, is that why can't you just use captions? And if your reading age is 8, it's not possible. The context is lost, captions move too quickly, and it's just an awful experience, especially for people in the media industry. More than 1 million people use British or American Sign Language as their first native language. So we're speaking English here. It's not easy to understand. British Sign Language has a completely different grammatical structure to spoken English. So instead of saying my name is Alex, it'd be name me Alex. So the grammatical structure is completely different. And it gets more so as you go into different languages. British and American Sign Languages are completely different from each other. Whereas I can understand somebody who is American because we speak a common language. I could not understand somebody who's speaking ASL because ASL is on one hand, BSL is on two hands. Completely different grammatical structure as well. This is the part which really stands out for us. There is one interpreter for 300 deaf people in the UK. So I heard a story the other day of I couldn't get an interpreter for the birth of my child because there wasn't one available. And that should never be the case, should it? There just aren't enough people to interpret between these two different worlds, and we are trying to fill that gap for people. And mean that you should be able to get an interpreter. The number of deaf people in the UK is increasing and the number of interpreters is decreasing because it's really hard to be qualified as an interpreter in the UK. And then a fun one if you are running your own company. Companies with an inclusive workforce have 30% better profitability, which everyone loves. We all like to make some money. So this is where our solution comes in. We have built, through various forms, Ray. We also have Mars, who is a British Sign Language male. We also have Max and Jay, who are ASL signers, and we have 2 new ones coming in September for German Sign Language. And we have a really ambitious roadmap to ramp it up to 32 different languages over the course of Signapse's history. 32 is a magic number referenced by Netflix. It's kind of become the gold standard on how many languages you need to cover the majority of the world. So that's really what we're aiming for. So how does it work? We take English text, German text soon, and we turn it into sign language gloss. And gloss is the grammatical structure of the language. So we say, what is your name becomes name you what, simplified into gloss. We run that through an LLM. We run it through a variety of LLMs. We use Google Gemini, we use Claude hosted in Bedrock, and basically we train these ourselves to basically give us the correct gloss for the language. So this gloss is different in ASL as it would be to VSL. We take that gloss and then we run it through our own custom-built GAN models to output the sign language video. So we have about 3 terabytes worth of sign language gloss clips. We generate blends between all of those in real time, and we output a string of sentences through the sign language. So you do name you what, name you what is what you would get by the end of the video. So we take that from the training. So we have our GAN models. Who here, how AI are people here? Before I go really deep on what an AI model is. Show of hands if you know what TensorRT is. Yeah, great, that's a good start. Okay, so we create our GAN models. GAN models gives us a basic PyTorch model. It's pretty slow. It takes about 30 seconds to get your sign language video back, which is fine. But if we're thinking of the live environment, which is where we're looking to operate, it's too slow. No one wants to, I don't want to be standing on stage and it takes 30 seconds for the translation to appear. So as a goal, we are working towards getting to real time by the end of the year. We're about 18 seconds at the moment. We reckon we'll be about 7 seconds by September. And then you're in like the world of like real time captioning. So the delay and the user experience is much better. So we've started rolling out TensorRT, which really compresses and optimizes our models. And that's got us down from 30 seconds to 18 seconds, and we kind of want to take that further. All these models are hosted in SageMaker at the moment, and SageMaker supports the NVIDIA Triton servers as well, which we're going to stick them on as well for even better speed improvements. So that's kind of one of the main things that we're doing at the moment to get that speed down. Ray was based off a human being, which is really important for the UK because the deaf community in the UK likes to know who the sign language is based off. It's a very different story in the States. They don't really care. So in the US, we have anonymous signers. So these signers are entirely synthetic. They're created through, initially through Google's Nano Banana, gives us the image, and then we run it through our own models to basically animate them. So this is Max and Jay. Is that going to play? That's not going to play. But essentially, these are IASL videos. If you want to see it afterwards, I have a version on my laptop where you can kind of go and see them. So, we're constantly improving as we go. This is version 1, which you've seen. As video models improve, we can now do version 2. So the hair looks better, the hand movement's a bit clearer, the lip pattern's a bit clearer. This is coming live in about June this year. It's currently run through Kling. Has anyone heard of Kling? It's a diffusion model, basically. Yes, great. Takes a long time. We currently have 29,000 glosses of Ray that we're running through Kling at the moment to generate and improve the video quality. But I personally think it is a lot better. Feedback that we've gotten is a lot better. People don't want it to look too AI-y. All of our research has shown that it should feel like a real human being to create kind of that authentic experience for the deaf user. I'm going to stop playing. So, this is why we're all here. How's it work in AWS? We run everything in EKS, primarily. You spoke to me a few months ago, would have all been in Lambda. We've just shifted it all to Kubernetes because Lambda timeouts were a pain. So we have Kubernetes. We split our models into CPU and GPU parts so we can optimize it. All the GPU parts are hosted in SageMaker, and we stream back the blends in real time to FFmpeg hosted in EKS, which then runs on a beefy CPU optimized instance and stitches all of those blends together. This is all happening kind of continuously in real time. This part really interesting because of the recent announcements about S3 file storage. The latency part is kind of key for us, but at the moment, as it currently stands, we use FSX for Lustre as a bidirectional sync with S3. So we mount FSX to the EKS pods, and then we write the mount, and then FSX syncs it all back for us. So I'm really, really excited about that news kind of coming, and hopefully it's not too... If you use Fuse with S3, the latency is awful, so I'm really hoping that the latency would be pretty good. FSX has a really fast latency, we're talking milliseconds, and because we're trying to get that speed down to as much as possible, every second counts. And what we've done is we've taken that and we've turned it into two products, which you can use today. Sign Studio is a SaaS platform. You can go and sign up at studio.signapse.com, and Sign Stream is an API that you can plug and go for. It's a RESTful API for our WebSocket, the text. We also accept streams over HLS, SRT, and RTMP for you media folks out there. Yeah, both of these kind of built for people for whatever your use cases are. With Sign Studio, you can upload any file and get it translated into sign language. So your next presentation to the board, or your next presentation as training video, your spreadsheet, your PDF, your Word document, your video, your audio file, you can get that all uploaded on there. We have a variety of different tiers, ranging from free all the way through to kind of enterprise plans. I say free, it's pay on demand. It's not really free, but we like to call it free. And then SignStream is for real-time events and media and marketing. And we recently did a great project with Heathrow Airport where we took SignStream and we plugged it into the displays. And Heathrow has a public boarding announcement API. We translated 3,000 announcements from just Terminal 5 in the space of a week for people who are coming to the airport. I don't know if you know, thinking out loud, kind of airport environments are particularly stressful for the deaf community because all the announcements around your gate changing are all audio based. So we can understand it, but if your flight's being cancelled, your gate's changed, it doesn't come through. So what we did with BA, we had screens inside the airport, which basically signed all of the audio translations for the deaf passengers. There, we've just been through that. So how does it work? We have an NLB, which sits in front of our Kong API gateway, and then that passes it through to basically our translation pipeline. So we have SignStream, which is obviously the product. We have an API and a WebSocket. We then send that into our text-to-gloss service, all through gRPC. Text-to-gloss goes off to Bedrock and basically generates back a gloss. We take that gloss, we send it to the gloss translation service, which talks to SageMaker, generates those blend videos, and then it streams it into our StreamGen. We call it Stream Generator. It's our kind of final encoding. It's where we will apply background colors, company logos. We'll turn it into a stream if you want it to be a stream. Really kind of make it bespoke to your organization. And then we stick it on S3 and we stick it on CloudFront, and you can do whatever you want with it at that point. Whether it's an MP4, a stream, MOV file, it's entirely up to you. And then we take that one step further for live events. So, who here is familiar with how live events work? Anyone done a Twitch stream? One person. Okay, so there are three main streaming protocols. There's RTMP, which is a bit outdated now, but you use it for like Twitch. HLS, which is great if you're in the Apple ecosystem, and SRT, which is like the de facto standard. So we take all of these streams in via Media Live or NLBs, and then it goes through the exact same pipe, basically. The only thing that's missing here is we plug into Speechmatics for real-time transcription, because everything basically works off text. So we take the audio, even the video, we boil it down to the audio track, and we send it to Speechmatics, get back live captions as they come through, and we translate that, and then we stick it back on CloudFront for you to process. And this is ultimately the final output. So this is something we showed at IBC in Amsterdam last year. It's a track and field event, but this is a real-time translation that we did. This is obviously a recording of it, of the audio commentary. I don't know if I bump up the speakers, maybe you can hear it. So there's naturally in sign language a 3-second delay anyway, even if a human being is here, because of the processing time. That's what the deaf community is used to, so we've artificially inserted that. And yeah, if you think from a user experience point of view, how much of a game changer this is, something like sports, where there's a lot going on, it's complicated, you need to really capture the atmosphere of the event. How do you get goal to really be goal in FIFA? We just did a pilot with FIFA for the World Cup to show how that could be a thing for the next World Cup. And learnings from that were our AI models are too rigid, and that's something that we're building on. It's hard to get the emotion in the model. So recently we now do better facial mappings and better expression and emotion. So you feel the same as the commentator, and really trying to get people into that atmosphere of kind of the event that's going on.
Can I just make a comment there?
Go for it.
I mean, the very fact you said you convert to text first obviously means you've lost your emotion in there somewhere. So
but now recently with Speechmatics you can infer emotion from that. We are doing partnerships with certain major broadcasters as well, where they can send us through metadata, which basically says, this is a sad scene, this is a happy scene, this is a scene with lots of energetic, this is a sports game, and we're building that into our models to basically infer that if it's a football match and the word goal comes up, it should be an excited emotion, unless you're supporting the other team, which gets a sad emotion.
Dual feed could be difficult, but
let's hope the multi-view stuff really kicks off and we can go from that. But it's room for improvement. We've only been going for 2 years, so as kind of like a first starting point, we think we're getting there. Yes.
So you do text to gloss. Do you not do voice to gloss or voice to text to gloss?
Yeah, we do voice to text to gloss. That's what's happening at this point here. So voice is coming through over RTMP. We're then capturing it with an RTMP server here in Kubernetes, and then we're taking that RTMP audio stream and we're sending it to Speechmatics. Speechmatics through the WebSocket is basically returning us back a constant stream of audio. One thing I didn't say is to get the best sign language results at the moment, you need to have a sentence, because sign language is very contextual. So we chunk it up into sentences, and then we send that off down the gloss process. That's how that's kind of works. And then same with video, is really, you can send in the video, we just take the audio track and then we smush them back together at the end. So we embed the sign language on like you did in that clip just then. I don't know who was first, I'll go with you, sir.
Is there any event-driven stuff going on? Because I can see there's a S3 file here.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like whenever there's a file that's dropped there, something's happening with the science API?
So this part here is we basically serve back over all the protocols. It's basically segments of files. So there's it's called fragmented MP4. It's basically like 3 seconds of clip, and we store them all in S3, and then CloudFront is our CDN. So when a video player tries to access that URL, that's where it gets it from. Whether people fire events off that bucket, no. We do fire events off this bucket. So when Media Live dumps the segments into S3, we then trigger a workflow off that, so we know that an audio streams come in. And here we're using Redis PubSub here. So instead of like sign stream polling S3 all the time, say, hey, your clip's ready, we just fire it off onto PubSub and off you go. Yes?
When you're generating video, I think you are generating it in a 2-dimensional space, as in, hence the...
Yeah, at the moment,
Have you considered generating 3D for more fluid motions?
Yeah, by October this year, we'll have full 3D avatars.
Which will help with the fluid.
Which is great, yeah, because sign language is... There's a thing called role shift, which is where if you were talking and I was signing, I'd look this way, and then if Martin was talking, I'd sign this way. So if you have different people talking on the screen, it can get lost with the 2-dimensional stuff, hence why we're moving to 3D. And also there's a thing called placement, which is where in your signing space, we'll call it, you place objects. So if I was describing my house, I'd draw like a room, and I'd say this room, this room, this room, and this room, and a corridor. And then that's kind of how you describe something in sign language. So yeah, you need to have that 3D space kind of available. We've had to re-record most of our glosses. we have a filming studio at the University of Surrey, which is great if you're in the UK, but we're trying to crack how do we do that for our interpreters in Germany, how do we do that for our interpreters in the States, because we can't obviously bring them all to the UK to film in a nice fancy production studio. So we're kind of doing a lot around camera rigs at the moment.
My question was more about rendering the person in the
Yeah.
video, but in 3D. That's
Yeah, so that was all by that will all be done in this stage, in the GOS stage. But by October this year, we'll have it all 3D. Yes. Sir?
Going back to the example of the athletics
Mhm.
example, what are the pros and cons of using simple subtitles over something that's really quite elaborate there?
I suppose the kind of thing would be if it was in. It's not. So subtitles would be in English, which is not the natural language of the deaf individual. So the equivalent would be like if it was in Spanish. You know, I could probably understand kind of what was going on, but not very well. So we should be offering experiences in everyone's native language, and sign language being one of them. That's the main pro. Deafness is a spectrum of how well you use BSL. Some people who have gone deaf in later life will be fine reading captions. Some individuals who are born deaf won't understand that, because how do you teach? Like the way you teach English is very audio based. So yeah, it's a balancing act really. Yeah.
So you mentioned about kind of the advances you made in kind of reducing the time.
Yeah.
Like 30 to 17.
Yeah.
And then from 17 to where you're going to get to 7 or whatever
Yeah.
it was. Have you got an idea, because you talked a bit about kind of hardware, moving different hardware, speed it up. Have you got sort of an idea of like how you're going to split that? Is it all just basically getting better hardware, hitting it, or is there some other places you're looking to?
Mostly, I think it's going to be software optimizations, architectural optimizations. So, for instance, here we do an FFM process here. We also do an FFM process here. Why not just stream directly to here? Those kind of conversations will save seconds. There is the hardware conversation. We're running on G6 instances at the moment, which are A100s. It's a balancing act between cost and performance on that. G6s are great. There's not many of them in the London region in AWS at the moment, so we have to balance that. And we probably will get to a point where we just can't get any further with we reckon we can probably get to around about 3 seconds confidently, just through software optimizations and the occasional bit of hardware. And then we get to the point where, for instance, with some of our German streamers, this is all on-prem. It's not in the cloud. Because they are so latency sensitive, they need it next to their CDNs and their encoders and on kit, and that's when you get to like the sub-second kind of times. Does that answer your question?
Perfect.
Great. Who was next? Am I running out of time? Yeah.
Yeah, my last question.
Yes.
Topic. Yeah. For a real-time environment like an airport or as you mentioned, like
Yeah.
the Olympics or some sports. So what has been the hardest trade-off between I would say the latency,
Mhm.
the accuracy of the kind of sign languages or different types of as we say,
Yeah.
and the cost.
Yeah.
Which has been the hardest one,
It's a form of healthy friction. So we have a chief scientist, or our co-founder Ben, who's responsible for the AI models, and his priorities are very much the translation quality. And then I'm CTO, who's responsible very much for inference, and my priorities are the speed and the cost. So it's a balancing. We never, as a company stance, we don't negotiate on translation understandability. So that's always the priority. We'd rather have a slower service if it's understandable. There's no point having a really, really fast service if somebody in the deaf community can't understand it. And we benchmark that monthly with throughout the UK with members of the deaf community. And then it's like we would rather have faster speeds and higher costs. So if you kind of think of like translation quality, speed, cost in like order of priority, I suppose.
Have you considered doing this with a non-AI algorithm? Because I mean, it seems to me that if you're trying to reduce a few seconds down to nothing, then actually traditional algorithms may be more efficient.
Yeah, the delay is in the blending and the generation of the videos, because especially in like the live event space, people tend to waffle. You need to give an accurate translation. You can't predict what somebody's going to say, so you need to be able to dynamically generate that on the fly. That's where the AI really comes in. Yeah, there is an argument that you could strip up this bit is milliseconds. It's not really an issue. But yeah, if we did kind of set sentences and stitch them all together, you would miss something in the translation.
You take
Should
two
I
more
take two more questions at the end.
Out of curiosity, because I guess for the live shows in person, it's like the speed matters, but probably for streamed or live coverage, usually there is some delay anyway.
Yeah, there's a buffer, yeah.
So probably this means that you don't really need to speed up as much. I don't know how you see this as a company.
Yeah. There's a buffer, normally about 30 seconds for live streaming. We're benchmarking against live events because that's the hardest one to hit. And then any kind of wiggle room we have on that gives us ability to do more things. So we can, if we have a 30-second buffer and we're translating in 7 seconds, maybe we can take a bit more time on the translation quality. Maybe we can take a bit more time on the video rendering. And same with the Science Studio stuff. It's a much longer turnaround time. It's about a day turnaround time for the AI stuff, because we want to get the best quality translation, the best quality video. We drop that down slightly for the live thing. So yeah, but if we can hit live events, we can hit anything, basically. Yes?
You mentioned that the cost is a third priority for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from your point of view, is like a profitable story, or it should be subsidized by government or something?
We're a for-profit company. We would like to be profitable, definitely. We're working towards our Series A this year. I think it'd be great if it was subsidized by governments, but I think ultimately people need to it's one of those things that people just have to kind of pay for at the moment. I don't think governments are really there with the legislation at the moment to kind of shift it through. We're seeing it move in the right direction. The European Accessibility Act has really kicked in, has really lit some fires. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's GDPR level fines for not being compliant for accessibility, and sign language is one of them, which is great. In the UK, we're not there yet, although Ofcom is kind of stepping up, and in the States, they're kind of getting rolling too. So we are seeing the world move a bit more towards like prioritizing accessibility, but I think at the moment it will forever be a for-profit thing. We as a company, our kind of roadmap is very much to do as much as we can, but we know that sign languages, there's 350 plus sign languages in the world, and then you have regional dialects on top of it. So whether we as a company do all of that, or if we're just the groundwork for somebody else, a bit large company, to take it on, we'd be fine with that. Thank you.
Amazing.
I'm here all night. Catch you.